based in. So on behalf of the co-organizers, Bandung City, City of San Fernando, Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, Gaia, and IGS Center collaborating with UNEP, IGS CCET, I would like to welcome all of you to the session. I'm Prema Kumara, Deputy Director of the CCT. Today I'm going to be a moderator of this webinar. This is one of the official side events of the Asia Pacific Forum Sustainable Development 2021. So before going to the technical session, let me make a few housekeeping notes. Today, actually, we have more than 100 participants joining all over the world. To minimize disruption, we would like to kindly ask our audience to keep their microphones muted throughout the session. You can raise any questions to our speakers or organizers through the question and answer box. We will try to answer them to the best of our capacity and time availability. And also this webinar is going to be recorded. I hope it is okay for you. And then let me start the session. Actually, today we have a very distinguished panel, including city officials, academics, and practitioners to discuss the importance of zero waste solutions toward the regenerative Asia Pacific region, especially making the post-COVID society. As we are all aware, waste management remains a notable challenge in the region in achieving sustainable consumption and production, as it requires holistic and cross-sectoral approaches. In the meantime, COVID-19 brings unexpected challenges to our governments, especially local governments, as well as it gives some opportunity to us look at some new thinking, values and approaches to build a post-COVID-19 society. Today, our panelists, our speakers are looking at how zero waste solutions can guide our cities to move from a one-way economy to a closed-loop economy by reducing, reusing, and recycling waste and accelerating transformation for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, SDG goals, at the same time, COVID-19 recovery. So then without taking much time, let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Miko Alino. He's a regional program coordinator of the Gaia Asia Pacific to share his views on the zero waste. He has been actually involved in facilitating technical support and collaboration with various NGOs and cities adapting zero waste strategies across the region. So let me introduce Mr. Miko. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Kumara. So let me just share my screen, just a moment. Okay, so I hope you're seeing my slides. So for this evening or this morning, wherever you are, thanks for being here. I'm Miko Alino from Gaia Asia Pacific, and I'll give a brief presentation about zero waste cities and how is it connected to economic recovery, especially in the time of the COVID pandemic. So Gaia is here to promote our call to go beyond recovery. So this means beyond recovery means that we are calling on governments, businesses, and funding agencies to incorporate zero waste systems as part of COVID-19 economic recovery policies and investment plans. So just a brief introduction about Gaia. So Gaia is a network of organizations, mostly grassroots organizations, NGOs, and individuals that are working together towards zero waste. And we're happy that we're here with our partner cities in the Asia Pacific region, particularly the city of San Fernando in the Philippines and Bandung City. I'll be presenting some of the key publications or reports that Gaia released in the previous days. So we released 3 reports. You can access them from our website, zerowasteworld.org. These reports cover the job opportunities or job creation when cities or local governments switch to zero waste. Second, we'll also look at the importance or significance of waste pickers and informal recyclers in zero waste systems. Their role, in a way, is impacted by the ongoing pandemic, and our call is to, as part of this economic recovery programs, they are integrated in our cities, especially in the waste management services, so they can earn better livelihoods and also reduce cost for cities. Second is by transitioning to zero waste systems, cities are in a way creating a dent in terms of investments. In the long run, this will create a lot of savings as maybe later the cities of Bandung and San Fernando will share with you. Next, about zero waste jobs. Zero waste creates many benefits from cities, for cities rather, to reducing pollution or to improving human health. Numbers from C40 estimate that waste management sector has the potential to generate almost 3 million jobs, at least just in the 97 member cities. And zero waste, just to give a gist, zero waste is a comprehensive approach to waste management that prioritizes waste prevention, reuse, composting, and recycling. And it's a widely adopted strategy in a lot of cities, not just in Asia Pacific. It's proven to minimize environmental impacts and contribute to a just society. In the next slide, I'll show you the, it looks like the waste hierarchy that probably you're familiar with, but we tried to, in this report, tried to embed the job potential for each layer or each level of the hierarchy. And from this report, we saw that a lot of jobs are being created at the higher levels of the hierarchy compared to those that are focusing on disposal options such as incineration and landfilling. So in this case, some estimates, for example, on repair, they create 3.5 times as many jobs per ton of waste as recycling. Recycling, meanwhile, creates 16 times as many jobs per ton compared to composting. And composting, meanwhile, creates 3.5 times as many jobs as disposal. So looking at this, it seems that if cities or local governments invest in the higher levels of the waste hierarchy, there's potential for them to provide more jobs for their citizens. Next, zero waste not only create more jobs, these are higher quality jobs. So especially those that are incorporated or integrated in waste management systems. And if we try to integrate these collectors in our formal waste collection programs, they are also benefiting from social benefits that they don't get when they just rely on collecting recyclables alone. Next, we'd like to emphasize the need for an inclusive recovery. At least the estimates from WIGO is as much as 56 million people work in the informal recycling globally. And we believe that there's job creation potential for including or integrating these people into our formal recycling systems. And because of this, or at least these efforts to integrate uh, informal recyclers and independent collectors, we've seen in some cases, for example, that WeGo cited that by introducing or including informal recyclers, for example, in Bogota, Colombia, they found out that there's reduced waste management spending by as much as 11%. In the city of Cairo, there's saving 14.5 million euros a year when waste pickers are managing the recycling system or the waste management system. Another, I think, benefit for integrating informal recyclers is they create a healthier community or environment for our districts or cities. Many informal recycling associations manage soup kitchens, especially during this pandemic. They also organize childcare centers, which in a way represent a nexus between marginalized communities and governments, and somehow that channels policies designed for the sector and submitting plans to the government aimed at improving living conditions for the poorest. Um, Next is just some numbers about zero waste being the cheapest way for managing waste. And we have seen in several cities in the Philippines, in Italy, Spain, France, Bolivia, Chile, and others that maximizing collection and recycling, cities and municipalities can save as much as 70% of their cost per ton. And later we'll hear from our city officials on their experience in terms of integrating zero waste. Just to reiterate that zero waste means it's a holistic approach. It doesn't mean that it's zero waste to landfill or zero waste to nature. Waste still ends up somewhere. So whenever we try to sort our waste, some of the materials still end up in landfills or still end up in disposal sites. Uh, Zero waste means we try to stop the waste before it starts. So that means we try to invest in a lot of reduction measures, such as plastic bag bans, so that cities don't have to spend a lot of money in terms of disposing or handling problematic materials such as plastic packaging. And lastly, just to end my discussion, I'd like to just reiterate our call, at least for Gaia, to first prioritize zero waste systems in recovery plans. Second is to integrate waste pickers and waste workers in these programs. And lastly, enact policies that aim to reduce plastic use. And yeah, that's it for me. If you need to, if you have some questions, feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat box. Thank you. Kumara?
Yes, thank you, Miko. Giving kind of a overall background to the discussion and the program today, what is zero waste and how it's uh, benefit to the cities in different ways, like including economic, environmental, and decent jobs. I think all these are very much important when we're looking at the post-COVID planning at city level. So how zero waste can be encourage our cities to change the traditional waste management systems to more resource efficient systems. So thank you giving the overall introduction and the overall framework to the meeting. So I would also again like to invite our audience participants to, if you have any questions to our speakers, so please make them in the question and answer box rather than raising hand or something, because we get in only from the question and answer box. So please make your questions in the question and answer box. So I will facilitate as much as possible to your questions to the speakers. So as Miko mentioned, so we have very two speakers from the two cities, one from San Fernando from Philippines and the one from Indonesia, Bandung City, Indonesia. So let me first invite engineer Marilan Alonso Malabanan from San Fernando City. I hope I pronounce correctly your name, Miss Malabanan. The floor is yours.
Yes, good evening. So I can start with the presentation. I'll just share my presentation. So good evening, fellow advocates in environmental management and protection. Maya pabengi kaya kayungan, that's our greeting in our native dialect, Kapampangan. And magandang gabi sa inyong lahat in our national language, Tagalog. On behalf of our beloved City Mayor, Edwin D. Santiago, our Vice Mayor, Jaime T. Dezatin, and the City Council, that we present to you the San Fernando journey towards zero waste. The city envisions itself to be the home of the giant lanterns and be the model of countryside development. Its mission is to develop a livable, ecologically balanced, and economically viable model city through effective and socially inclusive governance that will enhance the quality of life of the people. In the city's roadmap, ecologically sustainable development is included on its agenda on governance. The Philippines has an enabling law, the Republic Act 9003, or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. Local government units, cities, and municipalities are mandated to have an approved 10-year solid waste management plan. The city has an approved plan based on the National Solid Waste Management Commission Resolution number 167, which was approved on August 25, 2015. The plan is focused on the decentralization of waste management by empowering the barangays and communities, establishments of materials recovery facility or MRF, segregation of waste at source, and to implement the no segregation, no collection policy. The city was commended by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, on the 23rd day of July 2013 for establishing MRFs in all its 35 barangays. Even before the approval of the plan, the city has already initiated the establishment of MRFs by providing incentives to its barangays. We have more than 100 MRFs in the whole city, both from barangays and private subdivisions. Here are some pictures of MRFs established in barangays and subdivisions. As mentioned, the city has provided 150,000 pesos to its barangays and 50,000 pesos worth of construction materials for private subdivisions for the establishment of MRFs. The city has also provided the communities with tri-bikes or push carts, This is a small collection equipment to aid barangays for 100% collection, even in those areas with narrow streets. The provincial government has also provided assistance by giving garbage trucks to all the city's 35 barangays. We have here the City Central Materials Recovery Facility, where the residual waste from barangays is transported for final sorting and processing to reduce the waste to be disposed, as disposal of waste to sanitary landfills requires a lot of budget. As per Republic Act 9003, final disposal of waste is through accredited sanitary landfills or by alternative technology. Here is a picture of the city composting facility where the biodegradable wastes of the two public markets, slaughterhouse, some food establishments, and nearby barangays is processed into compost or soil enhancer. Now, let me present to you the plans and programs of the city on environmental management and protection. We have the urban greening program and tree planting activities. The city has enacted City Ordinance 2004-11, or an ordinance declaring the June 25 of every year as Arbor Day. We also conduct evaluation of barangays and schools to gauge their compliance to Republic Act 9003 and to further assist them on how they can improve their existing programs. The evaluation is conducted quarterly or every 3 months. Barangays and schools with best practices are recognized each year through an awarding and are given incentives to encourage them further. The city has continuing information dissemination on the banning of single-use plastics for the implementation of City Ordinance 2014-08 or the Plastic-Free Ordinance. We encourage communities to bring their own reusable bags or cloth bags during market and shopping, and also by bringing their own reusable water bottle, which is very useful and timely in this trying time of pandemic. In coordination with the DNR Environmental Management Bureau Region 3, the city has introduced the Refill Revolution to have a chance of reusing plastic and glass containers when buying liquid cleaning products, such as fabric softener, liquid hand wash, liquid detergent, and do away with sachets. Some small packaging, such as sachets, are very hard to recycle as they are made of plastic, paper, and aluminum, or what we call composite packaging. As you can see, the city was recognized by the DNR EMB on such program. As part of information dissemination, the city made a partnership with a local TV network on proper solid waste management, putting emphasis on selling recyclable materials such as PET bottles. The city and the TV network have put up a lively show where PET bottles are exchanged with monetary incentives. The city also encourages the involvement of the youth sector through the Ferdinandino ESO network, or the Youth for Ecological Students or the Youth for Environmental Students organization, by having different friendly competitions such as poster making contests, eco bag making contests, spoken word poetry competition, and eco fashion to showcase the talents and ingenuity of the students. The city is engaged in social and tri-media for its information education campaigns through radio and TV guesting, distribution of flyers and posters in public places. Note that this is during the normal times and not this pandemic. And the office Facebook page. The city has continuous enforcement inspection operations to monitor violators disposing garbage in public places and business establishments that are not compliant to existing local and national environmental laws. Violators are issued a city violation ticket, a city ordinance violation ticket or COVT with corresponding penalties. Business establishments that have not settled their obligations cannot renew their business permit. The city also has the Bantay Tambucho program for the implementation of City Ordinance 2016-001 or the Anti-Smoke Belching Ordinance. Public utility vehicles or public transport are randomly checked or tested on the standard for vehicle emission. The program is coordinated with the Land Transportation Office. The program is under the implementation of Republic Act 8749 or the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999. Another is the Manila Bay Mandamus or the cleaning of the Manila Bay under Republic Act 9275 or the Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004. The San Fernando River is contributory to Pampanga River going to Manila Bay. The city and barangays conducts weekly cleanup of waterways. We also conduct inventory of households and business establishments in the provision of septage facility to ensure that wastewater discharge passes the set standards. The city also caters to eco-tours or study tours from schools, cities, and municipalities and different organizations to observe, copy, and showcase the best practices of the city on solid waste management. The city was also featured in the documentary film The Story of Plastic, which was produced by Cihaurgeulis and Mother Earth Foundation. The documentary was released in October 10, 2019. The city was also featured in Picking Up the Baton, a case study prepared by Gaia. Lastly, the city was recognized by the Consumers Association of Penang Gaia for leading the zero waste work in the Asia-Pacific region and support towards the zero waste world in October 14, 2019. Now let me convey to you the message of our mayor for the last slide. Nga ng EDSA, EDSA stands for Edwin Santiago. Parte ng kaunlaran ang kalinisan upang masabi nating tayo ay maunlad. Dapat alam natin ang tamang paraan ng pagtapon ng basura at tamang pagsunod sa mga batas sa kalikasan, which is translated to, cleanliness is a part of development in order to say that we are progressive. We must know the proper way of disposing our wastes and comply with the laws governing it. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ms. Malabana, sharing the experience of San Fernando City. It's looked like you are taking a lot of initiatives to reduce waste as much as possible in the city level. Actually, I also got one question asking zero waste cities, what kind of policies or actions you are taking to prevent waste, like refuse the waste. So do you can let us know to answer this question, what San Fernando City take any initiatives to prevent the waste rather than recycling or reuse the waste? Any initiatives you can mention?
So basically what we do is to really let households to segregate their waste into biodegradable, recyclables, and residuals. So we tap the barangays to monitor the household, and we also do the barangay monitoring and evaluation and household evaluation. So we have a unit in our office, the enforcement unit, where the barangay monitoring team is under. So every quarter they do the household and barangay evaluation. So we teach the households on how to segregate their waste, and we tell the barangays not to collect unsegregated wastes. So after that, the barangay will collect the waste in household, also segregated waste, and they will bring it to the materials recovery facilities of barangays. There, the barangays will further reduce the waste And the recyclable waste are given to the waste collectors for their additional income. So after sorting, the final residual waste will be brought to the city's materials recovery facility. So only segregated residual waste is accepted at the facility. And then if we can still further reduce the waste to be disposed, like the segregation of plastics. So maybe we can bring the plastics to recyclers because there are still, high value plastics can still be recycled. And after that, the final waste will be disposed at the sanitary landfill. The nearest sanitary landfill in our country, in our place, is Metro Clark Waste Management Corporation.
Okay,
So also plan to have a conveyor in the facility to further reduce the waste to be disposed.
So when you educate the household, so do you have any program educate the household to reduce the waste generation, like not produce waste, like not use single-use bag, instead you can use your own bag to shopping, or that kind of initiatives are taking?
Yes, we have an ordinance, a plastic-free ordinance, wherein retailers cannot issue single-use plastics. And then we monitor these business establishments who are using single-use plastics. So if they use single-use plastics, they will be issued a violation ticket. So for the first offense, they will um, um, wait, they will have to attend a values formation seminar to teach them that single-use plastics is banned in the city. And then for second offense and third offense, it has penalty already.
Okay, thank you.
They will not settle their obligations. They cannot also renew their business permits.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Malavanan, so the explanation. So I think it's clear now for the person who asked the question. So then let me go to the next city. I would like to invite Dr. Kamalia Purbani. She is the chief of the Bandung Environmental Agency to make the presentation on behalf of Bandung City. Dr. Kamalia, the floor is yours.
Sorry, it's still on, still mute. Okay. Hi everyone, everywhere you are. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. I'm Kamalia Purbani, Head of Environment and Solid Waste Management Office. Here I'm accompanied by Mr. Gun Saptari. He's Head of City Cleansing, local-owned company, which will help me to answer the question during the Q&A session. Okay. In this respectable forum, I would like to share our city experience in how we transform the movement, the 3R movement, we call it KangPisman, become a system development in our city. Yeah. So I will first quickly share about the city profile and its macro indicators. And then after that, I would briefly explain about waste management policy and strategies in our cities. And then I will continue to explain about the KangPisman movement or 3R movement here. And then for also we call it KBS. KBS is waste free area implementation in Bandung City before KangPisman movement were launched. Yeah. And then I also would like to tell you about how we transform the movement, the KangPisman movement, to become a system development in our city government. And then the last is waste to food. This is our new innovation. This is kind of opportunity during a pandemic. Okay, I would start with the city profile and macro indicators slightly. Please, next slide, please. Okay. I just would like to slightly tell you about the population about the Bandung city. It's about 2.5 million, and it is divided into 30 districts, 151 sub-districts, and then it's also divided into 1,500 community unit. We call it RW, and then it's also consists of, it's about 10,000 neighborhood unit. We call it RT. Yeah. So I would like to underline the macro indicators. The next slide, please. About how the change of the macro indicators before pandemic and during pandemic. So its impact to the open employment, unemployment, I mean, and then also to total unemployment. And also it has an impact to poverty rate in Bandung City. It's become the number of poverty of poor people becoming it's increasing. And then it's also has an impact also to, we call it life expectancy. Next slide, please. And also for the school. But thanks God that during pandemic, school is now is online. Yeah, now not face to face for the learning process. Yeah, and then we go to the next slide is the solid waste management policies and strategies in the city of Bandung. So in the local regulation on solid waste management, it is mandated that waste management based on the principle of sustainable development. There are 5 principles: efficient use of materials, decentralized waste management, handling segregated waste, prioritizing waste processing for recycling, minimizing the use of toxic materials in the production and consumption process. Next slide, please. And it's just the a paradigm shift, or shift of paradigm in the waste management. So in that regulation, it is mandated that everyone who produces waste has an obligation to do waste sorting. This is an obligation. And the government is responsible for carrying out waste management from upstream to downstream. So it should be integration of 5 aspects: regulation, operational technique, institutional, financing, community participation, and decentralization of waste management to district and sub-district. So we try to implement system-based KBS, or we call it a waste-free zone. Yeah. So we encourage the reduction of waste at the source as much as possible. So we are on the way. We are going to create a sustainable solid waste management. Next slide, please. Okay. So I would like to briefly explain to you about KangPisman Movement and waste-free area KBS implementation. Okay, or we call it KBS, yeah, for zero waste or zero waste area. So KangPisman Movement is started from October 2018. The mayor of Bandung launched the KangPisman Movement, and it is an abbreviation for reduce, separate, and utilize. This movement is actually adapted from the 3R movement, but the name of KangPisman, it's easier to remember and more familiar to say and hear by the people of Bandung. So Bandung City government strongly encourage the KangPisman movement to be followed massively by all citizens to encourage change in the behavior of the people of Bandung. And this movement is expected to be the answer to solid waste problems that very touch up with the fundamental factors, namely change in culture change of processing waste. And environment and solid waste management become one of the priorities program in Bandung City. So the implementation of the area of 3R movement called waste-free area began, actually has already begun before the KangPisman movement was promoted, and has grown even further after the KangPisman movement was promoted. And in February 2021, there were, we have 140 community association that have implemented a waste-free area. Okay, the next, please. This is the stage of KBS development. So in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2000, and then now, what is the difference? From 2015 until 2018, waste-free zone is based on voluntary base. And starting from 2020, we make it by system, KBE system. So what is the KBE system means? So there is an intervention of government here. Yeah, we provide advisory team. We also have give incentive for organic waste collector and also organic waste processor. Next slide, please. So this is the scheme. Yeah. Next slide, please. This is the cycle is like this. Yeah. So basically, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So what is the difference between KBS voluntarily and a system? So there is a support from the government for implementation, for we call it RTPS. RTPS is kind of technical plan for solid waste management at the sub-district scale. Jadi sub-district scale is kelurahan, we call it. So we provide technical assistance and guidance. We provide incentive for waste collector and processors. And we also provide waste separated collection facilities. And also we provide waste separated processing facilities. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay. Before the key this is the KB is key to success. I mean, we already observe all of the KBS, or we call it KBS, yeah, waste-free area. That community participation in waste sorting at the house level is a kind of the basic of the success, yeah. And then the role of the head of RT is a neighborhood unit, and a community unit is a motor for, I mean, like a trigger of citizen participation. And fully support from the head of sub-district level, this is also play a very important role in the success. So the professional technical project assistant also, this is a key of success, and appropriate and sustainable educational method, because we do it, I mean, door to door, by door to door. So the facilitators come to every house and then make a kind of education and show how to do, and not only educate, but show them how to do sorting, how to process, and something like that. Okay, next, please. Okay. This is, I mean, I would like to tell you about the implementation of KBS model at sub-district level, please. So the implementation of KangPisman or 3R movement and waste to food in the sub-district of Sukamiskin and Cihaurgeulis are the two models for the application of the KBS refers to sub-district waste management technical plans, or we call it RTPS, or master plan at the sub-district level, for waste management. The system is developed with financial support from the city government for waste management resources starting from homes. Residents in each house are more focused on getting used to reducing and separating waste, especially organic, which can then be upgraded to the use of waste. So this will gradually forming 3R behavior. Next, please. This is in more detail waste management scheme at sub-district level. The residents have separated waste, especially organic, put in the buckets but inorganic waste is stored, put in a sack or other container, while residual waste is placed in the garbage containers. Garbage collectors collect buckets of organic waste from each house using a cart or push cart. Inorganic waste can be given, donated, or deposited into the waste bank by resident. For residual waste carried by the garbage collector and transported to the temporary dump site. Garbage collector carry buckets filled with organic waste to a predetermined collection point in each household, while residual waste is transported to the temporary dump site. Organic waste transporter consists of 3 people per sub-district. They collect buckets of organic waste from the collection point and then transport it using a garbage motor to the organic waste processing point at community unit. Next, please. Organic waste transported carry out organic waste processing by various methods and must be able to produce food. The food products produced are then distributed back to the resident who have consistently separated organic waste as a reward. And also as a motivation so people in the future can be interested and actively participate in processing organic waste. Thus, what was previously food waste now become waste to food. So every sub-district is assisted by 3 technical project assistants. They educate residents through door-to-door education so that residents separate waste and work together with the household to apply the rules. When the waste is not separated, the waste will not be carried by the collector. So we also providing additional incentive. In Indonesian rupiah is about 1,250 rupiah months in addition to waste collector wage paid by the community. If the garbage collected from its house is still mixed, then the incentives are not given. Organic waste collectors, organic waste processors, and KBS assistants are DLHK or our freelance and daily worker who are given the city minimum monthly salary. Next, please. So this is, I would like to present to you data comparison of the 2 models. I mean, two locations for the KBS implementation at sub-district level. We call it Sukamiskin and Cihaurgeulis. The average waste separation in Sukamiskin is about 33% with the highest in one airway. So it's the different, I mean the percentage of waste separation different from community unit to other community unit. This is the average. The average level of waste separation in Cihaurgeulis is 43. So it is higher than Sukamiskin. And the total amount of processed organic waste until December 2020 in Sukamiskin village was more than 185 tons, while Cihaurgeulis village was more than 125 tons. The achievement of the level of reduction of waste disposed at the TPS in Sukamiskin reached 32.12%, while in Cihaurgeulis reached 39. This is bigger than Sukamiskin. After all, the achievement of waste reduction on that two sub-district has exceeded the city target compared to the city strategy policy for waste reduction, which the target is 30%. Next, please. This is the challenge. The problem in waste management is in the process of collecting waste at the source, especially household. So socialization and education to every house and citizen need to be intensive and continuously. And the role of garbage collectors is very crucial. If it is ensured that the collected waste remains separate, then the next process is processing and utilizing waste that will be much more easier. So to accelerate habituation process, every household should be supported by the head of community unit. So the community unit can apply a regulation. If residents do not separate waste, they are not given a certain services. So the last for this, our challenge is we face the difficulty to find a space for processing organic waste on 3 RTPS for sub-district scale. Okay, because we are in urban area. Next, please. So now we move to how we can transport the movement toward the system development. How is the scheme? Next slide, please. KangPisman as a system. Movement, the component of the movement mainly consists of media, campaign methods, props, how we can, tools for education also, activation, and volunteer and community, because this is a movement. So this is the very basic, voluntarily community based. And when we transform it to a system, it will starting from the planning and budgeting in our cycles of city management. And we also should complete it with the regulation and guidance. And also we should develop the facilities and infrastructures, formalize, and also we should develop the information system, and also full support from all municipal government official, not only our office. So every office in the city should support this kind of system. So it's not only sectoral, but intersectoral. Please, next slide, please. And it's already began. Next, please.
Dr.
So what is this? Yes.
Sorry to disturb. Can you summarize the?
Yeah, we only have maybe
yes.
2 slides
Okay.
remaining. What is the strengthening strategy? This is escalation of scale, time acceleration, integration with urban farming, strengthening system of information and database, and formalization into city government planning and performance system, and incentive scheme for the citizen. Maybe two last slide, yeah, please. And then next slide, please. It is waste to food. As I mentioned before, this is as a development of KangPisman movement. We developed the KangPisman movement and we integrated into, we call it urban farming. So we call it waste to food. And it is kind of very useful in during pandemic, because it has a value for the people or the community to do this, because they're not only doing waste sorting or processing, but they can have value added or economic benefit from this kind of activity. Last slide, please. Last slide, please. Okay, so the 3 benefits of the waste to food is, first is community empowerment, second is food security, at least for their own household. And the last is environment protection and sustainability. That's all of my presentation. So we will explore furthermore in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kamalia, sharing with us. Actually, one question was there that how we manage 50% of organic waste generated by our cities. I think your presentation gave very much a good impression how the cities can manage the food waste and organic waste in proper manner, and also how a small movement can be expanded into systematic system at the city level with the support of city planning and city support. So that's really interesting to hear. So then let me go to our last speaker, Dr. Watabe, Asushi Watabe. He is a program director of Sustainable Consumption and Production team of IGS. He has quite good background in sociology and collaborated with the many community level initiatives to enable sustainable ways of living. He will give us some kind of a more another way of looking at zero waste, put it into the more resource efficiency, sustainable community and lifestyle. So Dr. Watabe, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you very much for all of the co-organizers and participants. It's my pleasure to be here at this honorable session. My name is Atsushi Watabe from the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. And I have been supporting the community level innovations for sustainable livelihoods and lifestyles and their sustainable lifestyles and education program of the UN-led One Planet Network. Today, I will talk about the approaches to creating sustainable and lively local societies through collaborative learning among local stakeholders. Well, I believe all of the audience is very well familiar with the diagram. The Sustainable Development Goals covering 70 goals and 169 targets. And according to their 2030 agenda, these are universal goals and targets which involve the entire world, developed and developing countries alike. They are integrated and indivisible and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development. And so-called wedding cake model illustrates this nature of the integrated goals and targets. How our economy are based on the society and the biosphere, thus it is essential to address all of the challenges towards sustainability altogether. However, whenever I introduce this point to, for example, local government officers, they often look very much confused. It is not very clear what does a term integrated and indivisible mean to the practitioners who usually focus one or two specific issues. This is very understandable given that local governments or societies are often too short-handed to address many challenges altogether. Well, I'm not saying that it is not a good idea to try to integrate different aspects of sustainability. This picture shows the concept called Circulating an Ecological Sphere, which is promoted by Japan's 5th Environmental Basic Plan. It suggests local societies to address social, economic, and environmental sustainability together and aim to build societies that are low carbon, resource circulating, and in harmony with nature. And to these ends, they could find and utilize local resources, then mutually support with neighboring societies such as cities and rural areas. So this concept encourages local society to aim for resource circulation, of course, including zero waste, and at the same time with more lively community for toward decarbonized society. Then, well, it sounds good, but then let us see how does an entire picture of such a vision look like. Well, this is kind of a picture made by the Ministry of the Environment of Japan to introduce their complete picture of the concept. Again, many people who look at this picture darkens their faces actually. Like, no, we can't. We don't have such variety of resources. We can't address so many problems at the same time. So I'm saying that, what I want to say here is that integration of different aspects of sustainability is a great idea. However, if we try to draw a complete picture from the beginning, we will simply make our partners perplexed. So in my view, it is more productive to consider relations than to think of the entire system. And to this end, we can take a few specific steps. First, we can think of relations among local challenges to sustainability. For example, at a workshop in a rural city in Japan, participants told me that the current energy system, depending on fossil fuels, does not only cause climate change, but also put pressure on the local economy because of the high energy price. And then because of the pressure to the local economy, they have not enough job opportunities, which makes younger people to go out from the town. And then because of this, the younger people are usually going out, then they don't have enough people to maintain the forest resources in the rural area. So these challenges are actually closely connected and interlinked. Then after this kind of brainstorming, local people can also think of the good entry point to revert this kind of unhappy relations. So, for example, if they could find a good way to utilize the local resources to generate energy, then they are also able to create employment opportunities and keep younger people in the local areas. So I'm just, this is just an illustration of an example of how people can find out entry points, then gradually connect these entry points to different challenges in the local society. So, of course, it's not possible all the time to think of such a positive relations. But here, I'd like to introduce a town called Fujino in Japan, which where people are very active in finding out many entry points to create alternative ways of living and alternative ways of utilizing local resources. Well, area is called Fujino, which is a part of a large city, Sagamihara. And Sagamihara is located in the vicinity of Tokyo. And thanks to this location, the population in Fujino, many population in Fujino works in the central area of Tokyo, although the area itself is still in the rural area, underdeveloped area, and having abundant natural resources like forest and reservoirs. And the uniqueness of the area is the diversity of citizens' activities, including the transition town movement. these unique initiatives in Fujino includes, for example, the local currency and do-it-yourself electricity, solar electricity system, or peasants movement, or forest club, and so on. There are many kind of workshops taking place in the area. And Fujino electricity is one of such unique actions. They provide power generation at outdoor events based on their mobile solar photovoltaic systems. And they also offer workshops to inviting citizens to produce their own small photovoltaic stations for their houses and schools and so on. And the group started their activities after the great earthquake 10 years ago. After the earthquake, the area was hit by the power down because of their nuclear accident. And one of the residents in Fujino survived this power down thanks to their solar photovoltaic systems he created himself. And he shared the information to their neighbors through the mailing network of the local currency. Then neighbors requested the workshops to share his knowledge. And the participants of the workshop started the discussion for launching a community electricity group or company, and came up with the idea of the do-it-yourself off-grid systems. So, recently they offer workshops outside of Fujino and also started collaborating with their local government to develop emergency power stations following their natural disaster like typhoon hit the area severely. Another example is the Forest Club. This is led by an amateur resident who came in to Fujino several years ago. The club maintains the forest where the owners are too busy or too old to manage. Because of their insufficient management, the forest area has the risk of landslides and so on. And also there are a lot of the undermanaged and wasted forest resources. They manage the forest and cut some of the forest to maintain the ventilation of the area. And instead they collect woods to produce their firewood to use in their own home, or sometimes other wood made products like carriages, bags, and so on. And they also invite small kids to organize the events, so-called forest kindergarten. They are not professionals, but are supported by the experts to improve their skills about forest management. Well, these unique activities are facilitated through the network of the local currency called Yorozu, which stands for everything. There are about 600 members maintain the local currency and communicate their needs and offers among the members. For example, when someone wants to go to station, they ask the members to who can take me to the station, and then in compensation they will pay this Yorozu currency. But interestingly, this is the members do not need to balance, or actually they are encouraged to make many deficit instead of profit in this banknote, because deficit means that people are very good at asking others to help them, and then tapping into the neighbors' hidden skills. So this is not the like the market economy, but like the more of the facilitation of the mutual support among the citizens. And there are so many other kinds of local activities like the bio market, art village, or community chicken raising. And one group try to produce and self-supply clothing. For example, they grow sheep to produce wool. So and another group I found was try to develop an eco village out of their abandoned wood products. So there are many unique activities coming every year, almost every year. And people in Fujino say that the so-called edge effect enabled the people to create such actions. Edge effect is a concept of permaculture where contrasting biomes arise side by side, and the interface became active and enable a wider variety of plants and animals to flourish. Fujino has both rural and urban living conditions. They have both paid workers in the most advanced sectors of the economy in Japan, and also many of the residents still work in the agriculture or forest and manufacturing sectors at the local economy. So naturally, the unique actions arose out of the interface and exchanges between people having different background, skills, and demands.
I'm sorry to disturb. So if you can summarize,
yeah, I think I have just one slide more.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So going back to my point, because of there are many opportunities of exchanging among people with different skills and needs and backgrounds and so on. The many activities arise between the market economy and like families' needs or professional skills and hobbies and so on. And then these unique activities make people to further exchange between old and new residents or public and private sectors and so on. So these continuous flows of information and actions finally make people become more confident that they can create new actions in Fujino, which makes them to enjoy their living and try to think of not just making profit, but also to utilize the local resources like waste or wasted wood or other opportunities to create alternative ways. So I will stop here. So my point was just saying that we do not need to take a big step from the beginning to change the local society, but we can start thinking of the relations among the local challenges and local opportunities. So and then we can make a small step so that we can gradually change the local society. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Watabe-san. So I think that's the main point we're going to the discussion, because our cities, when going to make the zero cities, they don't need to think about bigger things first, so they can start from something simple and making the vision to be zero cities. I thank you for giving quite good conceptual idea how to make the zero cities. So then let me ask all our panelists to make their videos on and join, because we have another 13 minutes. I think we can have a couple of questions. And I also want to warmly introduce two our panelists. One is City Councillor BJ Lagman from the San Fernando city. So, Mr. Lagman, so we are very welcome you to the panel. And also we have Pak Gungung Hidayat from Bandung City. He is President Director of Waste Management Enterprise in Bandung. So Pak Gungung, so welcome you to the panel. So actually we got couple of questions. Some are already my colleagues from Gaia have answered, but I'm wondering whether Miko want to answer one of them. I think very important thing is the policies related to the prevention, so or how incineration can be integrated into the waste management. So I will ask Miko to answer one of them if you want to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Kumara. So for, I guess in incineration, the question of incineration, it's in a way being marketed to a lot of cities, especially in Asia, in the Philippines, in Bandung, or in Indonesia. Um, I think that the risk there is you have the cost, so it is expensive for cities to invest in this. They need lots of startup capital, often acquired through loans, and there are a lot of cases in other regions, such as the US, that in a way tied city governments into put or pay contracts that somehow discourage them to reduce actually the waste they're producing. Another, I guess, disadvantage here is because they need to produce a lot of waste, you need lots of feedstock in order for these machines to run. It's not uh, giving incentive to cities to actually pursue reduction measures. So because these machines need a lot of waste, they need a lot of feedstock, then cities would be in a way forced to um, um, put a lot of waste in these machines, including recyclables, which have a lot of calorific value. Third, you also have to deal with the types of waste that are in a way found in the typical Asian cities, in Bandung or in San Fernando, for example. Our waste is composed of more than 50% organic or wet waste, which is not favorable for waste incineration. So yeah, these are just a few reasons. That's why we're discouraging cities to invest in this. We're of course promoting zero waste systems that is a more cost-effective way for cities to handle their discards. Thanks, Kumara.
Yeah, thanks, Miko. So the another one I think very interesting to discuss in this COVID situation, because zero waste is mostly waste separation, recycling. These things are very important. But the one question is how in this COVID situation your cities are handling this, continuing this waste separation and recycling activities going on. Can I ask either Bandung or San Fernando, briefly let us know how you continuing this waste separation and recycling activities under this COVID-19 situation. So whoever from first, maybe Bandung, if you want to say something, either uh, Pak Gungung. So because you are, I know you are the one who collecting the garbage in the city. So how are you continuing this, encouraging the residents to separation and recycling?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, I try to answer. Maybe Mrs. Kamalia can add some more answer. Uh, Honestly, for waste management in Bandung, COVID, especially for KBS, yeah, KBS is zero waste area that we accompany to implement a zero waste in that model area. We do not have a big impact by the pandemic because um, most of activities is still in household. So we still continue the waste collection, separation, and in my opinion, we have the blessing maybe from the pandemic COVID, because we have an idea how to connect the waste management system connected with urban farming, because a lot of people stay at home today. And in Bandung today, urban farming is quite booming today. There are a lot of people plant some trees, and we connect with waste management. We stimulate the people in Bandung to separate, especially organic waste. I think this is the important key that the government must try to support how to separate the organic waste and then handling the organic waste. Some of the people handling organic waste in their household, we give some supplement tools like pipe composting, some of the takakura, and then we also give some composter to the area that we accompany. And some of the people have do some simple their initiative. They also buy the composting for their household, and some of them use the compost to connect with the urban farming. In Bandung, we call it the Buruan Saya. The program, we have the Buruan Saya program. It is urban farming. So I think the pandemic give us an idea how to connect urban farming with waste management system. I think that's for me. Maybe
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Kamalia can add.
Yeah, I would like to add some points that we are from the Dinas provide what we call APD. I don't know what alat pelindung diri, secure. What is they need masks, they need certain clothes. We provide that to all
Okay.
of the garbage collectors. Yeah.
Okay.
So because that kind of collection process cannot be stopped. Yeah. So we still, but we increase the safety of the collectors and also the processors.
Thank you very
That is
much.
maybe
Yeah.
point from me.
Thank you both, Pak Gunggung and Dr. Kamalia. So my next question is another one. It's interesting because they heard that San Fernando mentioned that they banned the single-use plastic. So when you introduce a strict ban of waste, so then it increased some illegal dumping. So how it's control that kind of a situation happening in San Fernando? May I ask Councillor Mr. Lagman? So
Thank you.
how will you practice the banning of single-use plastic?
Thank you, sir, and good day to everyone. I hope everybody's feeling well. Coming from the legislation side of the local government unit of the city of San Fernando, the banning of plastic, the use of plastic bags in the city of San Fernando doesn't entail big costs, doesn't entail logistics, much logistics to implement such law. So during the pandemic,
sorry, Dr. Kamalia, can you
Yes, sorry.
mute?
Thank you. So during this pandemic, we don't have, we're not really affected we're not reprioritizing the implementation of the plastic ban in the city of San Fernando because we're used to it already. The people are very supportive of this legislation, in fact. So it's a lifestyle in the city of San Fernando not to use single-use plastic anymore. So that I think that is the fruit of what we have started way back in 2014 and 15, and now 5 years after, people are used to it. Before it's awkward to use reusable bags in the city, and people are dependent for their convenience on having one sandbags. But now, if they see sandbags, they tend to ask where this bag came from. So unfortunately, it came from the adjacent town next to us. So I think we want to share this message to not just in our neighboring towns, but all over the world, that I think some of our multinational uh, uh, producers of these plastics, or big establishments, are just waiting for a legislation for them to comply with. So we don't have this at this time. We don't have much problem with the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lagman. So we have only another 2-3 minutes. So let me ask one question from the Dr. Watabe, because there is one question about nuclear debris. I don't know you are much familiar how to handle the nuclear debris in Japan. They asked about Japan. But what I want to link it with keeping your work on the community involvement, how Tohoku nuclear incidents, and after that, how some changes in the Japanese communities in making local actions to improve this resource management and energy saving. I think your Fujino case is mostly in line with that. So you can give us some explanation from Japanese experience.
Well, thank you very much. And for the question about the nuclear debris, well, it's not just me who doesn't have the answer. Actually, the Japanese government doesn't have the answer about that. So I personally think it's kind of very bad attitude of Japan to export nuclear power stations to foreign countries. Even Japan doesn't solve the issue of the nuclear debris. But to the question from the chairman, well, the disaster like the earthquake and nuclear and the recent typhoons made people really aware of the risk of depending their life on their national level systems dominated by the large company and supported by the imported resources. So in such occasions, people recognize that they need to build alternative ways of meeting their needs and alternative actions so that local people can utilize local opportunities and sorry to create different channels to support their day-to-day living. And the pandemic also made clear that our life has been supported by many people who are working in the face of the tremendous risks, like people working in the food sector or waste management sector. So I believe this can be an opportunity, as other panelists said, to rethink the way communities, people can think of who should be supported and how we can change the way we handle their resources or waste and so on.
Thank you very much. So I think we're almost in the time. So before going to complete, I would give to one chance for everybody to have one sentence or one thing you want to pause for other cities or other audience, what you feel when the zero waste cities, what you want to recommend for them to do. Very simple action like Watabe mentioned, Dr. Watabe mentioned. So what the key entry points, what you want to say to finish the session. So may I start from the Councillor Lagman?
Thank you, sir. Again, good day. Well, in the setting in our country, in the Philippines, we on the local government unit would like to ask or suggest to the national government that like what Ms. Marilyn have been presented, that we in the local government supports the barangays, we incentivize them, we provide some of the equipment that they will be needing on to work towards zero waste in the city of San Fernando. I hope that the national government can also give incentives and assistance to all the local government units for us to really adhere to the uh, ecological solid waste management law of the country. So that more LGUs or local government units or municipalities and cities and communities can implement such the provision of this law, no? So that at the end of the day, this law will not end as a law, but it will be implemented and nationwide. So I hope that and would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for inviting us. It's always a privilege to be invited to share what our experience, and we learn from you also. So I hope to see you after the pandemic, and let us continue to move for a more sustainable environment for future and progressive country or communities. So again, good day. And
thanks, Councillor Lakmal. So, Ma'am Mali, and you have anything to add for that? Or? So, otherwise, may I ask Dr. Kamalia? So, if you have anything last word?
Yeah. It sounds cliche, but I think the first case is the political will of the mayor of the city, if they want to implement this kind of. And the second is how the process is to be decentralized, yeah, into the more small unit, yeah. And then another things is sure regulation should be also created, supported. It can be more, effective if there is also a regulation as an umbrella for doing this kind of, zero waste policy. Maybe there's three things for me. Maybe Pak Gun could add some more points, important, please.
Yeah, I think zero waste cities is the most suitable paradigm for waste solution. Of course, to implement a zero waste city, we need a process, effort. So that's why we need to share and learn from each other. And I'm really thank you for all of you here and also all of the people, not only from Indonesia, from Bandung. We really appreciate from the Gaia, IJS who help us to do the process of implement the zero waste city, and we'll get a lot of knowledge and also how to implement this. So very thank you to all of you, and also we believe that at the end the citizen and the city will smile with the benefit how to implement this zero waste city. So we hope this discussion can inspiring others and also us, of course, to implement the zero waste to become the new paradigm in waste solution.
Thanks, Pak Gunggung. So, Watabe-san, do you have any last word?
Yeah, thank you. Just a few words. I'm very much impressed by the presentation from the Philippines and Indonesia, and because I have been thinking the waste issues are mostly the hands of the local governments, and these presentations clearly show that the key is how to boost the creativeness of the citizens instead of local governments doing everything. So I really appreciate your presentations. Thank you so much.
Miko, you have anything? So last word.
Yeah, thanks, Kumara. Yeah, just on behalf of Gaia and everyone, thanks for being here. We appreciate your efforts in continuing these zero waste practices, even though we're under a tight pandemic situation. We were able to create or develop innovations. I've seen in Bandung, for example, using online tools to continue educating households in San Fernando, looking at some guidelines for waste pickers or waste workers rather to keep them safe, even while implementing or enforcing waste sorting programs. So I hope this examples from these two cities will inspire other governments to also follow suit.
So then let me thanks again for all our speakers to your very valuable thoughts and knowledge. And for me also, I learned a lot from this webinar. So I feel especially after the COVID, so all our like what we call like a centralized, more global systems are collapsed. So what we need more decentralized local systems is very important in the future. So in that sense, your presentation show how even the waste management, how small community level actions can be very important in continuing these public services. So zero waste has a huge potential in our post-COVID plans in the cities. So that's I think IGS our work on this 3R resource efficiency all have some kind of a part of zero waste ideas. So we will work together, all your cities and also Gaia, to continue this discussion in the future too in more productive manner. So thank you once again for joining with us, and let's finish the session. So thank you. May I pass to the trees?
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
See you.